Welcome back, gamers. MTG Joe here. We are collectively in the Bloomburrow waiting room. We want the new cards. We want the woodland critters. Hopefully everyone's having a great pre-release. I opened some bombs, got some money, got some fetches in my prize pool winnings. So I was happy with my night. But something cool that MTGO did was they've already rotated Standard. So what that means is the old cards, Wandering Emperor, Kamigawa sets, Innistrad sets, they're no longer legal in Standard on MTGO. However, we don't have Bloomburrow. What this does allow us is to give us kind of a snapshot in terms of what Standard could have been if we kept the 2-year rotation. Did we have to endure another full year of Sunfall? Kind of those style questions as we kind of go through. So the one thing to note, how it kind of works is technically Bloomburrow is legal as of Friday of release in terms of paper formats. This is kind of mirrored on MTGO, but they don't have the cards added yet. So you will see in some of these lists that Fabled Passage is included in the list. While technically only coming out in a couple days time, it was a reprint, which is already on the client. So some folks have played it there. So what we're going to do is just kind of go over some deck lists that have placed in the 2 standard challenges thus far and kind of see where the meta is, obviously without Bloomburrow cards, but give us a perspective of what the metagame would have potentially looked like had it been the 2-year rotation. So this will kind of hopefully get you some thoughts in terms of directions on stuff you want to go, even decks you can play right now post-rotation as you build up your Bloomburrow collection. So we're going to dive into it. We're just going to go over. So we had 2 standard challenges on MTGO, 26th and 27th of July. So Hemerano MLG. For the first league, I'm going to be honest, there was a lot of Golgari. A lot of Golgari. We saw some adaptation to that in subsequent days event. But we have a couple of different configurations. We'll highlight some of the card choices, stuff like that. As I mentioned, notably, we see the Fabled Passage in the mana base. For a lot of these 2-color decks, we lose the slow lands from Innistrad, so that's something to keep in mind as mana bases are being constructed. So you have 2 Bat Gods, 4 Broncos, similar to some of the versions we saw at the Pro Tour, 2 Glissas, 1 Hostile Investigator, the Caravex in here. So pretty dense 3-drop slot. Like if you look at it, you have Glissas, you have Caravex, you have Preachers in here. Tiny Bones as a couple of in your 1-drop slot. You have Shieldred in a 4-drop slot, as well as Hostile Investigator. So opting, we've seen some of the lists go more Hostile Investigators, less Shieldred in Standard. Still have Mosswood Dread Knight, which is one of the better cards in Standard, just in terms of the grind effect. Fortunately for all the gamers, cut downs and go for the throats still legal. Now we're adding Shoot the Sheriff as well in here. Single Pillage the Bog, 2 Lilies, as well as like the full Restless Cottage package still. We have some Duresses, Harvest of Misery. The Convoke decks still are to some extent legal. We have Hostile Investigators, Lilianas, so just kind of grindy elements, nothing too crazy. The end as a catch-all removal. Similar list, the second place, there's a lot of in here. We notice with this one here, we have the Caustic Bronco, some Gix in here. So this version here is opting to go no Preachers, where this one here is using the Gix. It also has the Deep Cavern Bat and Caustic Bronco. So slight different configurations, 2-2 with Hostile Investigators, a different kind of suite in terms of removal. This one's going a bit bigger, going Nissas in the top end. You also have Analyze the Pollen for mana fixing, and then Tutor effects, Gix Command. So interesting to see how these decks kind of vary in terms. You also see things like Tranquil Fill back in the main. This version's on the Cavern of Souls, usually naming Phyrexian as kind of the addition. So no Fabled Passage in this one here. Glistening Deluge is a sweeper. The one thing, like Phyrexian Arena kind of gets better now that Farewell doesn't incidentally just hose all enchantments. So again, similar Caustic Bronco build. This looks like this very similar to the previous. 4 Preachers in this, 3 Shieldreds, the Harvester in the main. We have Gix Command, Duress main. So we're seeing like the little tweaks here and there, but like we keep going down. This one's a mono black version, so saves you on some lands if you don't have them. Archfiend, Broncos, Evolved Sleepers making a comeback. A lot of different removal options, Lilies, the Mishra Foundry, Mirrex. So Mirrex still around, Mishra's Foundry still around as utility lands. Then we have the first kind of instance of the Boros Convoke deck. So Legion Extruder didn't see too much play in the Pioneer. Is it Artifacts deck? The Ensoul deck was playing a single copy of this. This just gives you another thing to spend your artifacts, kind of kill them that way. It also works nice. This makes artifact mites, so then you can kind of upgrade them into 3/3s as well. Notably, we lose Voldaren Epicure, so we lose one of our 1-drop enablers. So you do have Yodian Frontliner, but it doesn't let you do like the absolute busted ones where you go like 1-drop, Convoke, or like kill or Gleeful, and then Convoke out Knight Errant for full 5. So you can't do like super busted, but still kind of reasonable. Nurturing Pixie to kind of rebuy some stuff. Inspiring Vantages, Caverns, Battlefield Forges, all mixed into there. The Forges in the sideboard, very strong. You have Invasions in the sideboard, Peacekeeper for tax effects. So reasonable diversity of kind of options in the deck there. Then again, just like tons of Golgari. We have a, we'll call it Gruul if you squint hard enough, but this is mono red, prowess, splash some green. So Scamp in here, you have Fugitive Codebreaker, Monastery Swiftspear, Picnic Ruiner, Slickshot Show Off, Questing Druid, Two-Headed Hunter for the double strike, Monstrous Rage in here, Royal Treatment, Witchstalker Frenzy, so all in. There's the new Heartfire Champion or Heartflame Duelist, something like that, the new mouse 2-drop. That is basically just like an upgrade in some of these cases to like Picnic Ruiner, just gets bigger. Let's provide some card advantage in there as well. So you have like Jais in the sideboard, cost for the grindier matchups. Pick Your Poison still reasonable against Traxa decks. Tectonic Hazard is the new End of Festivities style effect. So you can basically deal with a bunch of the tokens and stuff like that. Just more Golgari. So I'll paste these deck lists so you can kind of get a look if you are really into Golgari. But one thing we haven't seen in a while is actually the Soldiers deck. So this is kind of a Flash Soldier variant. So you have like a Harbin coming back, some Yodian Frontliners, the Werefox Bodyguard. While not a soldier, a flash threat along with Aven Interrupter. You still have Knight Errant, Harbin. Did they put Harbin? Oh no, I was highlighting Harbin earlier. Warden's in here. So you kind of have like a flash package and a creature package. The flash package works nice with like Virtues. Toski is welcome for card advantage, kind of mixed into there. Really good mana base. Also like some tempo elements with like Phantom Interference. This lets you use like the Shaunas in the side. You have like Archangel stuff, the card we haven't seen much play, coming to kind of be maybe a grindier element. Aven Interrupter, just the birds kind of, you know, stifle-ish effect, kind of counterspell with a creature that gives you another turn. Good, nice against counterspell or sweepers. But yeah, the big takeaway for the first day, we have a Toxic deck in 13th place. We have a mono red deck, a little bit bigger with like Geological Appraiser in here. I just ordered my shocks. Surprisingly, I sold all my, like I just gave away a bunch of bulk and now I need shocks, which is kind of annoying, but we did have those. So we have like mono red here as another kind of deck of the format. But yeah, day one, kind of the big takeaway, a lot of Golgari. So if we kind of move over to day two, we had Sandoish, Brazilian streamer, win it. And we see kind of an adaptation of the meta to the domain decks. And now, notably, we lose the Triomes. Makes the mana base a little bit tougher, but we're seeing a number of these Surveil lands being played instead. Now, notably, Fatal Passage, it's not a true fetch land in the context of being able to search non-basics, but we're seeing like the commercial districts in here, Lush Protocol, Edge Maze, Shadowy Backstreet, Mortuary. So just ways to kind of tutor out lands in that regard. You have the Herd Migration, Sunfall package still. This one is playing the Ancient Cornucopia card that not heavily played early. There was some lists. I know Andrea Mangucci won one, but kind of just gives you extra life against the aggressive decks with Lightning Helix. These domain decks typically do well going over the top of the Golgari midrange decks. Now, the only threat density, you lose your 3 mana ramp, so you are leveraging more the Archangels, Atraxas, your win conditions. You'll see a little bit more interaction in the main between Get Lost, Lightning Helix, Temporary Lockdown to kind of bridge and to kind of keep you going. Herd Migration as another win condition. So a little bit fewer in terms of win conditions in this deck compared to what you once had. Jace Perfected Mind for like the mirrors. You got your option Bailos for discard or kind of aggressive decks, more sweepers and temporary lockdown. Rollback is kind of a catch-all threat. Nissa for the grindier matchups as well as negates. And we see another version from Victor Carvalho. And kind of similar, we have C Splunking in here. Get Lost, notably no Lightning Helix in this version. We have full set of Cavern here, same kind of package, but with 4 Fabled Passage in here. So going a little bit more on the passage to set up the domain, as opposed to just all the tap lines. We're seeing Invasion of Zendikar in this version here, where we didn't have it in this version here. And then Imidane's Recruiters for the mirror, just kind of push out extra damage out of nowhere, or like against control. And then just kind of similar concepts. We have a version of Convoke. We see the Urbas Forge main. Interesting, no Inspiring Vantage in this sideboard, or in the mana base here. Interesting choice to not include it. We also see only 2 Gleeful, going a little bit more mid-rangey, if you would. See Charming Scoundrel, a card you don't see too often in these decks. But Forge gives you a little bit more grind, similar to Invasion. See the War Leader's Call in the main as well. Sideboard's choice, 6 cards. I don't know if that just got transposed incorrectly. We see another one of the Gruul lists, Audacities in this one, Monstrous Rage, Royal Treatment kind of mixed into there. See some Thran Portals in the mana base. Can't believe I'm going to probably have to order Thran Portals for Standard. This card's so bad. It's like the worst land I think I've ever had to actually play in a constructed deck. So then we go to mono, or actually this one's an Orzhov deck. So again, just Orzhov kind of being a little bit grindier. You have your Caustic Brontos, Heap Cavern, Lord Skitters, Novice Inspectors, Sanguine Evangelists. So just a lot of kind of like 2-for-1 value, virtues. So you kind of go wide. You have the Convoke with like Pylon mixed into here. White gives you access to Destroy Evils, Haven Interrupters, Rest in Peace, Pest Control against the aggressive decks. Kazul's Flankers, so just kind of flexible ways to attack different avenues. We have one Golgari deck finally. We have a Dimir deck that's actually pretty cool. You have Deep Cavern Bat, Hidezuku, and Kari as a full set here. Lazov Weaver Forces, Malcolm, so kind of a mid-range tempo, single copy of Breach the Multiverse, push-pull as well, so removal early, but how it works with Hidezuku, it views this as an 8 mana card, so it could deal 8 damage to your opponent and let you cast Push Pull for free. Kind of sweet there. We have first copy of Cookies, Simic Cookies, so like Tough Cookies, just a Simic artifact deck. Ash Lizzle's been playing this for a while. You have like Agatha's Soul Cauldron to pass along activated abilities amongst other creatures. We then have like Soldiers in 9th, just seeing if there's anything like super jump off the page. Just a lot of Golgari is kind of the takeaways. We see a little bit more diversity in the second matchup as everyone kind of brought Golgari as the first, and now they're kind of metagaming for it. But you see some of the Golgari lists finishing like mid-pack. This one is blue-white or artifacts. So you have like Warden, Steel Seraphs, Spyglass Sirens, Novice Inspectors, Norn's Inquisitor. You make the Phyrexian Incubate tokens, Spring-Loaded Saw Blades. That is, say that 10 times, folks. Some removal in here, Schooners for card advantage, Dusk Roses removal, Cryptic Code in here. So kind of a different take on the Simic Cookies in terms of that. And yeah, just a lot of Golgari. So kind of the takeaways early on, Golgari, very popular. There is going to be an injection of the newer set. Having played it, there is a lot of typal or tribal synergies with those cards. If we look at something like Ixalan, it was a little tough to have dedicated tribal decks. Typically with that, you play worse cards to get the synergies, Having said that, like the Lizards deck looks pretty promising. Mono green or like green based decks got a lot of powerful effects. The classes, both the classes were very strong. I had them both in my pre-release pool. That was one card that stood out. The mice deck could be fairly strong. Just some adaptation of mono red with some of the new cards could be as well. But if you do enjoy this type of content, we will be back with all the official stats from tournaments, MTGO leagues, ladder of it, data up to mythic rank, all here on the channel. So make sure to subscribe so you can keep up to date with all the current and new standard decks as they come out hot off the press. We'll get you all that data every week. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you have a great one, and catch you in a couple days for Bloomburrow.